you're on a positive note, and you're like, I know I got that right. I don't care what he says, I know I got that right. You let it go, right? Because you know you got it right. Coach yells at you and you know you got it wrong, now it bothers you. What are you going to do to get past that? Okay? So I'm going to ask you guys a question. And I want you guys to seriously think about this. Okay? When you have two partners, and you're maybe the new one or they don't know you very well, and you felt that you screwed a play, and you have no support from them, what are you going to do to get back and stay in the game? What is something that you would do to stay in the game? Let's do some self-talk. Anybody? CJ, what would you do? What would you say to yourself?
That's in the past.
That's in the past.
In the past, losing for a grade.
Okay, so you're talking to yourself, right? Yourself. So what about the two partners who you just, they're down there kind of going, you see them shaking their head, and they're kind of walking around, okay? How are you going to get out of it? How are you going to prove to them, listen, I don't care what you say, I'm going to get my place right, I don't care. What are you going to say to yourself? What's your trick? What's your reset button?
Well, I know that I can't change them, so I just worry about myself. There's no point in getting concerned about that. That's just another work ethic that I don't need.
That's another thing that's going to trigger you. You cannot worry about what your partners are thinking. You can only worry about yourself. Worry about yourself when you're working the game. Now, we're going to work as a crew. We're going to always work and manage the game together. But when it comes to sometimes you're going to be working with people that you just cannot communicate with. And now what happens? Our mind starts to race. Especially if you have somebody with credibility with the high school assigner. You're like, oh shit, I want to work state, but if he goes back and tells me I didn't have a very good game, uh-oh, what do I need to do? Okay, now you start impressing that person, and guess what happens? You're in the tank, right? How are you going to reset? How are you going to reset? It's one of the toughest things you're going to do. Sure.
I was going to say, so this is something that my football coach kind of brought up in college, is that just move the next play. So just think about, like, my next opportunity, okay? I have a chance to do something right. And I know it's, like, kind of, again, difficult to instill, but, like, for me, it's who I am, it's how I was coached for, like, 4 years, so I kind of have that down. But it's like, okay, I know I had a problem. There's another opportunity right around the corner where I can do it right. And then, like, it is a little bit of a roller coaster, it can be at times, but, like, once you kind of get in that mindset, it's like, okay, it's out of my control, this happened, boom, next play.
So you always say get to that next play. But how do you get to the next play, man? How do you quiet your mind to get to that next play? We don't look.
It's because I know there's an opportunity.
So you know there's an opportunity.
So, like, it's part of that self-talk, right? Where it's like, okay, this happened, I know there's an opportunity this next play. I'm gonna work on that one.
Okay. Anybody else? Sir.
I think for me, it's about acknowledgement, right? For me, it's about acknowledgement. If I push the call, first I gotta realize that I pushed that call. And so it's easy to say, yep, guys, hey, I pushed that call. I'll get back in the game and I'll make it up. Because we aren't perfect. And it's the idea that we're gonna have this perfect game that might not happen. And so for me, it's just getting my mind back in it. Yep, made a mistake. Let's move on. There's the next play right behind.
You know what? That sounds great. But it ain't gonna happen. I'm just gonna tell you, Ray, it is not gonna happen. And I'll tell you why. Because that was my mindset for you. You know how I get to the next play? I get my next play right. That's how you get to the next play. I assist my partners on the next play. That's how you get to the next play. That's how you quiet your mind. And you put it in the backseat. You go in at halftime, now you can say, guys, I screwed that up. That's my bad, it's not gonna happen. Next opportunity, coach, that wasn't my best call tonight. I promise it's not gonna happen. Now, your mindset. But how you get to your reset is you get your next play right. If it's an assistant on a play, it's your call. Now you start feeling, okay, maybe I'm not as bad as I think I am. Yes.
There's like one word that I'm wrong, but if we keep thinking like, oh, I fucked up here and I gotta make it up and I gotta make the next one right, you're not even giving yourself grace to just accept the fact that you fucked up something and now I'm just gonna move on. So like, that's the only thing I can say to myself, like, I'm gonna fuck up a play. Coaches love when you take accountability. That's all you can do. I don't owe my partners that accountability. If they're not trying to support me, that's on you. I gotta give myself grace that I fucked up. I'm gonna do my best to get the next one right, but I might not do that either. But it's okay. Like, we have this mindset, like, it's not okay to fuck up. It's okay.
It is okay, but it's not okay. And I'll tell you why, and that's actually a really good point. Once you accept accountability of screwing up, it eases your mind, because you know you screwed up, right? And then we communicate with coaches, or we communicate, even players, we tell them, you know, hey, that was my bad, and, you know, it's happening, it's gonna happen. But how do you get to that next play? You don't screw it up, because let's say she makes a call on end and she misses it, okay? We don't go on the other side of the end of the court and miss the same play just because she missed it and tell the coach, well, at least we're consistent. At least we're consistently bad. You know, that's how we don't, because mentally, what happens is, now, I'm worried about myself screwing up, now I'm worried about the coach getting pissed off at me, now the players out, now I'm really irritated. So get your next play right. That is your mental, that'll quiet your mind, and then worry about the consequences of with whoever you need to talk to, when you're gonna talk to down the road. But subconsciously, it's not gonna be easy, I'm telling you. It takes years and years of work. It's just like with somebody that's working through certain things, it takes years to work through and work on. It's like I said, it's 23 years for me, and I'm still working on it, and it's the hardest part of my game. I self-talk, I should be in a mental institution during the game. You should hear me talk during the game. Holy crap. You know, if I was, oh my God. But I'm keeping myself engaged. And when I screw up, I acknowledge, I get to the next play, because I know I'm gonna make sure I get the next play right for the game, for my partners, for the players, for the coaches. I don't care less about the fans. You know? Does that make sense? Find a trigger that's gonna help you get a reset to get to the next play. It's not easy. Newer officials, you're gonna screw up all the time. We know that, and that's why you're here, right? So find yourself, so when you're so overwhelmed, okay, here's your reset button. When things are just coming at you and you're like, oh my God, you know, secondary defender, what does that mean? Well, it means just to help you. Simplify it. That's just to help you, right? Take 3 things, I would encourage you to take 3 things from this camp. 3 things that you really want to work on, that you know is going to help you get to the next game, next camp, next whatever. 3 things. But I would write down everything that you guys learned, because the next year when you guys come back and you look at your notes, you're going to be going, damn, I can't believe I didn't know that. Now you know that. Second thing, okay, every time you guys are at a camp setting, anytime you guys are at a game, after a game, you guys should always have a journal, okay? This all feeds back to a reset button. You guys should have a journal, because when you screw that play up, write it down and go through it and figure out, go to the rule, figure out why. Maybe go, let's say you got a block charge backwards. You went block. Well, why did I get it backwards? What did he do mentally right after the game? I have a journal. I have a journal since I started this. One of my mentors says, journal everything, man. He goes, because then you go back, he says, not only that, when you go back to help younger officials, you'll be able to go back and you can say, I did the same thing. So journal everything you got, and then you write at the end of that, okay, what was my reset? How did I reset myself to get back to the referee? Okay? And then every once in a while, you go back to that journal. Mentally, I'm telling you right now, mentally, if we're not engaged, we're screwed. How many of you come from work and went to a game and you're late, and because of traffic and you get on the court and you're just blocked, you're like, oh my God, okay, and now I gotta go referee, right? How do you reset it? How do you get engaged? Get your first play right. Get the toss right. Communicate, right? That's how you get to the next play. Reset and say, get to the next play, but I gotta get my next play right. That makes sense? So what I want you guys to do is maybe write down 2 or 3 things that you think might be able to help you do a reset. And I want you to try it during the game. Even if you don't make a mistake and you're dead down, try something. Clap, look at the backboard, self-talk. During your camp, your game today, just try a few things and see if it helps you clear your mind. Because clearing your mind is going to be the whole key, right? Acknowledge it, fantastic advice. Understand it, know what you did wrong, move to the next play. Yeah, because you're not going to change it, right? Any questions? Anybody understand why the mental game is so important to us? It's easy to get out there and physically move up and down the floor, but when we're in the tank, right? Last point that I want to say. Whoever's in the tank, two partners, need to find a way to help that partner get out of the tank. So now your mind, your mental aspect of the game has to now focus on how do we get him or her out so we can get back on the same page. What's the trigger that we can do? It could be anywhere from, let it go, I got you, we're here for you. It could be, hey, next play, come on now, we need you. Because everybody is different. There's some officials in here that need their ass to be ridden. Come on, what are you doing? And then there's some officials who don't respond to that, right? So you got to kind of figure out who you are and what kind of mentality you have when it comes to helping your player get up and get back on the court and get mentally prepared again. So that's the biggest thing. So have a reset, understanding, next play, subconsciously, have a journal, write it down, figure out what your reset was on that play, and eventually you're going to start being able to get to that next play. Okay? Do it today. Try to find a reset. Even if you're just running down. Oh, let me try that. Let me glance at the backboard. Okay. Let me glance at the rim. Oh, let me glance at my partner. Oh, let me tap. Try something. Just try to do a few things, especially if it goes out of bounds or if it's a tough call. And maybe you had a call and you're just like, okay, let me just try this. Play, just like when we teach you in center, move left, move right. Well, why? Because that's going to help you. Okay? It's like practice, right? Mentally, we got to practice too. But if you read that book, Quiet Mind, I'm telling you, it has some great tips. And that's where I kind of got my reset button and acknowledging that, hey, you know what? As soon as something happens, I've converted to play, but in life it could be, know that the next, whatever happens in your life is going to be better because you got it right. All right? Yes? Okay. All right? I know there's games going on. I didn't want to take too long because I know
Good, you're good.
any questions? If not, I can speak for the staff. You all busted your asses this weekend, and we thank you guys, man. There's not one thing. Do your job, okay? Because you guys didn't get a lot of pushback, and you all sweat your butt off yesterday. Yeah. And I'll say this to close, I'm glad it was you and not me. Good job, guys, keep it up.